Hello, everybody. This is Rick Will bringing you something a little different from what I usually do. Today, I have a deck profile for Bastion, Apex Ruler Bastion slash Bastion Prime for Card Vanguard Overdress. Now, I got into the game back in like 2020 when Vanguard Zero came out. Around that time, my friend got me into it. Um, when was that? Like April. When I'm not sure exactly when it came out in English, but anyway, I got into Cardfight Vanguard through the mobile version Zero. It was pretty cool. I used to play Dragonic Descendant and Gancelot Zenith, but he eventually transitioned me over to the TCG, which I find way better, way more balanced competitively, casually, everything, better mechanics, everything. Um, So originally, I was just going to pick up like a few trial decks and stuff, just splash around, see what was cool. Um, I got the Nirvana trial deck. Yeah, I pre-ordered the Nirvana trial deck back in like May or something of 2021, and I was just gonna play that until I started watching the anime, and then I got around to the Toya episode. If you know, you know. And yeah, he just became my favorite character, and I had to pick up his entire deck, and which is very tough because at the time Bastion was so expensive. It was like, oh my gosh, you had to have been there. You had to have been there to see. Like you think stuff is expensive right now, back then, ooh boy. But anyway, yeah, this is all unscripted by the way, so excuse me for all the stuttering and everything. But yeah, this is like um my first or my second competitive deck I built, because I think the first deck I built was Barrel Magnus, because I picked up booster boxes at first before I actually started buying singles. I picked up booster boxes and I was hoping I was going to get Bastion stuff, but I only got like one Alden and I just got a bunch of Barrel Magnus support. So I just said, okay, I'll just build that right now and wait till I have a little more, and then I'll just switch over to buying singles. So that's what I did. So, and I've been playing that pretty much ever since. Um, Bastion support has been pretty iffy. It's like there's some good stuff, there's some not some good stuff. There's stuff that synergizes well, stuff that's good support in general, but doesn't really synergize well with Bastion. More like Killer Sanctuary generics, which is mainly what Killer Sanctuary does, just makes generics for their cards. But anyway, I'll just move this to the side. I gotta get out the box. All right. So here we go. Bastion. Yeah, this is my second main deck I play competitively. I don't really play like in locals. I don't really have a locals around me. I kind of just play online with like Deer Days that came out recently. Carfrey Vanguard Deer Days. I mainly play competitively on there and ranked, and my deck list it does okay. It's not the most consistent thing. It's not like an Ava or a Gravidio or anything, something that like deck thins and all that stuff. But it's still pretty cool. I really like it. I might make a deck profile for my first main, which is the one I play the most, Bruce. I might make that one eventually, but we'll have to see. But we get into Bastion right here. My deck is a little different from the usual Bastion player's deck, but we'll get into that as we go through it. So let's see. So first we'll start off with the Ride deck. So as you can see right off the bat, it's a lot different from a regular Bastion deck. We do not play the um, base, the fort, or the rooks. The main reason being it's a little that ride line is a little too inconsistent. Like when you ride the fort, when you ride the rooks over the fort in the original ride line that the deck came out in with that trial deck, you would just check the top card of your deck and you would call it to rear guard. If it was a unit card or if it was a order card, it would go to the drop zone. And a lot of the time you would like top deck triggers or a PG or something. Sometimes you would high roll and get something good. Other times, not so much. But we try to add a little bit more consistency to Bastion because there's other decks like the Nirvana Red Line, which is so good because it just deck thins you a Trickstar to call it to field, and it deck thins you a vanilla OG Virina. So it has that going. It's very consistent. You'll hit it every time, and we try to kind of try to make up for Bastion's weaknesses in that regard. But anyway, first I will have the Wingo Brave, just a standard overdraw starter. If you ride over him, if you win second, you draw one. And then we have the Little Sage Marin, which goes with the MLB ride line. Um, when he's called over by a card with Blaster in its card name, you check the top seven and you call a Grade 2 Blaster out, or you add it to hand. Not really sure. You put it into your hand. Yeah, we don't really use that first. We don't really use that first skill. It's supposed to be there just so we could call the Wingo Brave out from his skill. Because if we don't check a Grade 2 Blaster, we just call the Wingo Brave from Soul after we rode over him with this. Just adding a little bit more consistency. Like I said, we don't want to top deck triggers or anything. Sometimes you can sometimes you can high roll and get something good. It's just better to be more consistent, in my opinion. So you play it for that. It has a second skill, but we don't worry about that. Blaster Dark also goes with the MLB ride line. You can also play Blaster Blade in the MLB ride line, but we have them here so that we can counterblast and discard this Wingo Brave that we called behind him after we whiffed on the Little Sage Marion skill, so that we can counterblast them and possibly get a retire going if they tried to rush us early, like they called on a grade 1 to rush us if we went first. But we counterblast one, and then we'll pop a rear guard, and then it may pop their rear guard, but regardless, we'll get two drive checks, which adds a little bit more aggro too. We're trying to add a little bit more consistency, a little more aggro, a little bit more early game to Bastion, which is its big weakness, being if we mostly run grade 3s in our deck, because with our grade 3 right here, Apex Ruler Bastion, it says he has to check a grade 3 on his drive check in order to restand a rear guard, and it gains 10k. So as you can see, we mostly have to run grade 3s in this deck. This is like these are some of the only non-grade 3s we run, besides like PGs and triggers. That's the only non-grade 3s we run in the entire deck. So we kind of had to try to work with that, I guess you can say. But anyway, it's a pretty good ride line. I usually hit pretty well on it. When I swing with Twin Drive with Blaster Dark, I can usually hit a critical, or if not, I can probably hit a heal to try to heal down to 0 possibly, or find bastions, whatever. Usually, it's a pretty good ride line. I like it. I think it's way better than the regular bastion ride line, though, in my opinion. All right, so we move that. Yeah. So next we have the MVP of the deck, the main card, the main Vanguard, which is our Bastion Primes, our grade 4 Vanguards. He's really good. He gives all your front row units extra 2k. Also, I forgot the Bastion. He also gives all your grade 3s plus 2k when they're on field. So yeah, it's a very grade 3 centric deck. Take that what you will, But anyway, his skill is when he checks a grade 3 or greater rear guard, grade 3 or greater unit. When he drive checks, you can discard a Bastion from your hand, or you can soul blast a Bastion out, and you can restand all your grade 3s, and they get an extra 10k. So you can get 5 attacks at most with this deck, which is really good, really powerful attacks too. Like they're all grade 3s, so they're all swinging for about at minimum like 28k, and the restanding they'll be like 48 at the bare minimum if you have an entire board setup, not counting triggers or anything. So that's really strong. It has a really good late game. Bastion has a really good late game, but the problem with him is you the early game is so weak because you have so many grade 3s. You kind of have to try to survive to get to that point. But if you can get to your prime, you have like a turn or two on prime, it's probably going to be wraps. They probably won't be able to survive that. All right, so next we have our 3 extra Bastions. At first, I was not running the extra bastions. I wanted to like have as many actual like attackers or something as possible. But the thing is, you want to run the maximum that you can in case you have to call some of them down. There'll be times where you have to call down even a bastion to attack with because you'll just have nothing else to attack with, and you still want to have extra ones like in your hand or able to drive check them to still be able to restand. So that's why we run extra copies. And next we have the actual MVP of the deck. We have Mr. Alden. Alden, the set one staple. We still play him. Still great, even though his cost is a little too much nowadays, but still. Um, you when he's placed on rear guard circle, so not even just from him. If you can top deck him from the old red line, that's what people used to hope for back then. You call him from prison or whatever. He can counterblast two, solo blast one, call a grade three. Again, it's a superior call, so you don't even have to be on your grade three vanguard to be able to call down a grade three with him, and you'll draw two. And also, if you have three or more grade three units when this card attacks, um, he'll gain 5k, so he'll be 20 because the Bastion skill to give him extra 2k, so he'll be 15 on his own, and he'll swing. And if you have those three grade three units, including him, he'll be 20. And then if you are lucky and drive check a grade three, or just skilled, you can restand him, and he'll gain 10k, so he'll be 30. Then he'll swing again, and since his skill is not once per turn, he'll gain an extra 5k. So he'll be 35 all on his own. Really great card, great attacker, great draw power. You need him, you love him, you want him. And that's just, he's probably the best card to deck, even more than your prime. This is why you always want a mulligan for him. Um, Next card we have is Lagrel. Lagrel, the meme himself. He used to be running 4 of back with the Lagrel Bastion build, which was like the set 3 build for him, which made a lot of people like really like Bastion, I guess, again. But he's really cool. We cut him down to 2. He's not as important now. Um, we'd much rather have our Alden going off than our Lagrel. But his skill is you can, when he attacks a Vanguard specifically, you can counterblast 2 and the rest any number of other rear guards, and he'll gain drive checks. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's way too long, but basically, if you rest 4 rear guards, which is every rear guard besides him, you don't have to discard anything after you do the drive checks. If you discard 3 or less, you have to discard 3, and then after that, there's an additional skill where if you discarded, how much is it? If you discarded, if you discarded 1 or less, after that, then you have to discard an additional 2. So if you discarded 3, you have to discard 3. If you discarded 2, you have to discard 5. If you rested 3, you have to discard 3. If you rested 2, you have to discard 5. And you rested 1, you have to discard 5. So you usually always want to go for resting all 4, which is why you usually want to wait till you get to Prime, because Prime will restand your whole board anyway. But he's really good. Again, late game type of stuff. You'd rather have the Alden going off, but he's really good for pressure, scaring a PG out of your opponent's hand possibly before you even swing a Prime. Really nice. Next, we have, I'm not sure about the tech, but I really like it. It's really good for comboing off with like a lag rail or a card we're going to show in a minute, which is Ease Rod Angel. Ease Rod Angel, when she's placed on rear guard circle, you can Soul Blast 1. Check the top card of your deck and either leave it on the top of your deck or call it to rear guard circle in the same column as her. So this card is really cool. Again, it's optional. You don't have to call it down. A lot of times you'll check it. It'll be like a crit or something. So maybe you can check the crit. You'll know your crit is coming, so you can attack with lag rail first, do his whole counterblast thing, and so you can potentially scare a card out of their hand, or potentially put them to really high damage before you swing with Prime. Another card I'm going to show in a minute, but right now actually, is and people don't really play this card anymore. I still think he's really good. Is Mr. Fosato. Mr. Fosato says when this unit attack hits, you can counter charge 1 and soul charge 1, which is we don't really want to use it for that skill. The counter charge is pretty cool. It helps you still be able to use your lag rails usually because the lag rail and Alden's kind of conflict with each other. But he's really cool. His best ability is his cannot be chosen by opponent's card effects. That's the best thing about him, and that's the reason why we can play another card that I'll be showing in a minute. But yeah, you can also combo off with this. You can Soul Blast one, check the top card. If it's a Bastion, you can leave it on the top, and you can swing with a you can call a Falsata down in front of the ease route and then swing, and if it hits, you'll still charge the Bastion. So then you won't have to just drive check a Bastion. You can still drive check a trigger or something off your prime turn and still check a grade 3 later. So you'll have that Bastion and Soul already able to Soul Blast. So he's really nice. He has, like I said, resist, so he'll help with the next card coming up. Next card is Heavily Enclaps Dragon. Embrace Dragon, shield power. We need him. When he's a grade 2 or grade 3, he'll be a 10k. When you call him to grade, when you call him the Guardian Circle, he'll give your whatever unit you have that's grade 2 or grade 3 10k. And if it's a grade 4, give it 20k. So he's really good. We need him too. All right, next card, a little controversial. Please do not, leak my IP address for playing this card in my deck. But we still run Pride to Protect. I do not run Dark Strain. Yes, I know he's been unbanned, unrestricted, if you will. But the thing with him is, Dark Strain was really good back in the set 1 meta when there wasn't as much like board retire or anything comboing and rushing going off. You could afford to Soul Blast 2 every turn to be able to use a Dark Strain's effect back then. But as of now, you really want to have a full board going and really just pushing them for damage really, or not early, but as soon as you can. You want to have a full board. Call this off, put in the set order zone, and then discard one. That's his ability, and he'll give all grade 3s boost. It's really good. I feel like I'm not really explaining enough. I'm kind of rushing through the deck right now. But I prefer this over the Dark Strain, me personally. Dark Strain, they can retire him. He'll be gone. You won't be able to boost anymore. There's a new card that's coming out in like set 10 or 9 or something that'll go to Soul and give grade 3's boost till the end of the turn. But I just think overall, Pride to Protect is like the best card you could use for boost, in my opinion. And with the Fasada, you won't have to worry about as many rig guards anyway because they can't get retired. So you can afford to play those orders. The right line when used also allows you to not top deck it and then have to put it into the drop zone. So it allows you to not like whiff on that. So it's really cool. And the last card, that's not a trigger, is 4 PGs. We all know you have to run 4 PGs. You love them, you want them, you need them. And lastly, it's a bit of an aggro build, so I do run. I also run these effect heals. If your opponent has a critical on their attacking unit that's not from a trigger, she'll gain an extra 15k on her guard, but she's only a 10k if not. So we only run 2, along with the regular heals. Run a few Alpacks, good guard value, 20k. Run a few Blade Feather Dragons. Sometimes you can call this into Soul if you need like an extra ease route or something, or an Alden going next turn. You can do that. But usually we are pretty set on that. But he's usually mainly just there for the aggro. Then we run 4 Gurgants, again, a little aggro. And we'll have one Amarth Noah because it's the over trigger. It's a heal. It's extra draw power, everything if you check it at the right time. But yeah, that's about it. I kind of rushed through it. It's almost a 19-minute video actually. It's kind of crazy, but anyway, that was my deck profile. If you enjoyed, please leave a comment. If you didn't enjoy, please leave a comment and feel free to tell me why I'm wrong about my deck list. But anyway, that's the end of my video, and I thank you all for watching. Bye bye.